Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to chat about the final episode of A Game of Wool. I'm currently in Norway, but I watched it courtesy of a VPN and the Channel 4 app. So today I'm going to give you my opinions on the final episode. Then I'm going to do a separate video, I think, just with my view of the whole series and what I think they got right, what I think they got wrong, and what I think they can improve if there is a series 2. If you watched the final and you have any views, please share them in the comments. Please be careful about personal comments about contestants. I'll come back more to that in the next Game of Wool video I do, but I will talk a little bit about it here as well. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you are new here, my name is Anniken. I design knitting patterns. I teach knitting workshops online and in person, and I sell yarn through my website YarnAddict.co.uk. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. So I'm sitting in my bedroom in Norway, and I've had to turn the light on because it's so dark in here, even though it's only 5 to 3, and sunset is not for another 20 minutes, but it is overcast today, so when sunset is, it's kind of irrelevant, but I'll just show you my view. It's not very attractive. Basically looking straight into the block of flat next door. The white on the ground is not snow, it is frost. So we've had really heavy frost the last few nights, so it's been white, but there's no snow, but it is at least white outside, which is nice. So let's get on with the Game of Wool episode 8, the final episode. I said quite early on that I thought the winners were either going to be Holger, Elsa or Lydia, although I thought also at the start Simon and Gordon were quite good knitters. Gordon obviously went out in the first episode, so he was out. I think if he'd managed to stay in longer, I think he might have been a candidate for the final, but I felt watching the final I was happy with any of the 3 that were in the final for them to win, really. I'd like to hear your opinion. We'll come on to the winner in a minute, but we'll just talk more generally about the episode first. Now, I do have some pictures that I will share on screen, and I'm looking at notes on my tablet, so if I look down, that's what I'm doing. So the 3 finalists were Holger, Elsa and Lydia, all very good knitters, very different personalities, and I think that came out in the last few episodes, really. So the 3 finalists had to work together for the final team challenge. Now, I know a lot of people have criticised the series for having team challenges, because obviously knitting is not a team sport. But one thing that knitters like to stress about the knitting community is that it's good at working together, and that everyone's nice and lovely and supportive. I don't think that's always true, but I do think it was nice for the final to see all 3 of them work together on the challenge. I think that was really good. They all seem to get on really well. Get impression from what I've read online that they all, at least the ones that come up from the southeast, that travel up to Scotland together every week, that they all get on really well. So I think that's really good. So the first challenge was the team challenge, which was to make a post box topper for a British post box. Quite a standard yarn bombing thing in the UK. They had 12 hours. They had to create recognisable characters of the judges and the host, Tom Daley, and use techniques that were explored in the show. So they had to make 3 figures that looked like the judges, and they're all recognisable as the judges and Tom Daley. And then they had to put something else on there that kind of represented the show. So they went for scenery, Scottish type scenery. So they decided to make one of the 3 people they had to make. They obviously decided to make one each. I'm assuming they knew in advance what the challenge was going to be, because I don't know how you'd make an amigurumi, whatever it's called, person without a pattern. I mean, I've never done amigurumi before, so which is why I don't know whether it's amigurumi or arigurumi, because I've never done it before. I started the monkey once many years ago, and I did 2 legs, 3 legs and 2 legs and an arm, or 3 legs, 3 limbs. And then I got bored and stopped. So I wouldn't know where to start if I was going to make a person. So I'm assuming they were either given a pattern to follow because they're all the same size, or they were given advance warning and had a chance to practice this at home. Holger made Tom. He was criticised for one loose end. There was somewhere where the end had, I don't know whether he woven it in, he just poked out through the front or what, but it was quite a short little bit sticking out. Otherwise, the judges thought it looked fab. Elsa made Sheila, and she did like a Intarsia jumper or dress or something, which she got complimented on by the judges. I thought the Sheila one looked the least like Sheila, but I don't think there's anything kind of characteristic specific that makes Sheila stand out amongst any other woman her age. I don't know how old she is, but I'm assuming mid to late 60s, early 70s, mid 70s. I don't know. I'm really bad at guessing people's ages, but loads of people her age, and class and ethnicity look like her or similar to her. There was nothing distinctive that stood out. And Lydia did dye. Now with dye, you could obviously make a big thing of her hair because she had knitting needles and various things sticking out of her hair every week. This week it was a donut, which we'll come back to in a minute. So it was a bit easier to make dye look like dye. And she was criticised because on the top of the sleeve there was apparently a slightly loose stitch, probably where she picked up the stitch and it wasn't neat enough. There was a loose stitch or a gap or something. I think all the criticisms were probably just done for the sake of it because they had to find something to criticise. But I think they liked all the figures and thought they looked like the people they were supposed to. And then on the top, they'd made kind of I think they'd made a couch, which looked quite good, which they had like a cardboard frame. So that must have been planned in advance because somebody must have made that for them in advance. And then they put some like Green Hills stuff to represent the Scottish scenery. And Sheila commented, shouldn't there be sheep on it or something like that, which made me go, that angry sweary emoji. I thought that was a bit nitpicky. They had 12 hours to do it. It's not a huge amount of time. I thought it looked good. The judges were overall happy with the result and impressed, I think. Then they had 12 hours to make a Showstopper hat. Now, this was quite interesting because I think this worked really well. Yes, 12 hours is still not a ton of time to make a hat, but I do think it is a project that you can possibly do in 12 hours, and they all managed to complete it, and the hats were absolutely stunning. So it is obviously a project that's doable in 12 hours if you're a competent knitter and relatively fast knitter. So I thought that was a good project to do compared to some of the other ones that we've seen. They didn't look like they were using super chunky yarn or anything or ridiculously sized needles. So I thought that was a good project because they seemed to be doable. There's always going to be a bit time pressure in all of these kind of shows because that's part of the show. If they all finish an hour before and just sit there chatting for the last hour, that's not going to make a good TV program. And I would imagine even if they don't struggle to finish on time, they will still make it sound like they were struggling to finish on time. Like when they said, I think it was half an hour left, I got the impression that Holger had quite a lot of knitting left to do, but yet he still managed to finish it. And I think he also made a tassel. Let me just check. Yes, he made a tassel as well. So he can't have struggled that much to finish it. Unless he'd done the tassel in advance, I don't know. But so I think part of that is also to create excitement and make us feel like, are they going to do it or not? It's the same on Bake Off, where they sell this cake would normally take 6 hours to knit, but you've got 3 or whatever. I don't actually watch Bake Off, so I have no idea if that happens. But I feel like I've read comments like that online. Anyway, let's talk about the hats. So Elsa did a vintage-inspired hat. Houndstooth. She knitted in sections and seamed it because she was struggling to work out the mats to make it all fit together. It had a rim, like a fold-up rim, folded up on one side, down on the other side. It looked absolutely fantastic. Another picture online shows it with a feather. This one just shows it with a brooch. There is another one online. Oh yeah, this one, which shows it with a feather. I mean, I think that is absolutely stunning. The top she was wearing as well was really beautiful. So I think that was a really good hat. The judges were a little bit concerned by the fact that she was seaming it because of the houndstooth color work. Back in where you join, where you seam it, you obviously want it to be as seamless, the pattern to flow as good as possible, which is very difficult with that kind of pattern and seaming it and the shaping and everything. I thought it looked good. Yes, it doesn't look as good as it would do if it wasn't seamed. Seaming it also gives it a little bit of structure, and I don't know whether that kind of hat needs structure of that type because I don't really knit a lot of hats apart from basic beanies. The person who should have actually been judging this section, I think, would have been guest judge Woolly Wormhead, who specializes in hats, and she does some amazing ones of different constructions and everything, and I think that's all she designs. So if you haven't heard of her, I will try and link her website below, but just Google Woolly Wormhead and you'll find her. She should have been the guest judge on this episode, I think. But Elsa's vintage inspired houndstooth hat, she put a little thing with a Morse code on it using lace and pearl bumps, or yarn overs and pearl bumps, to spell out GOW for Game of Wool. They say it was important to get the perfect seams of the houndstooth lined up, and Di was not happy with the seam, but I thought it looked great. Yes, you can see in the photograph that the seam isn't perfect. This photograph here, you can see just here that the pattern doesn't line up completely, but I thought it was good. Better than what I could have done, certainly. Judges thought it was quirky, funny, and detailed, and I agree with that. I thought it was fantastic. Not my style, not something I would wear, but I thought it looked great. Lydia did a beret, focusing on symbols that represented family and religion and her heritage. She used her own hand-dyed yarn, and I thought that was really interesting that she was allowed to use her own hand-dyed yarn, because the other two hats, kits have been brought out by Rowan, and Lydia has presumably bringing out her own kits with her own hand-dyed yarn. Her hand-dyed brand is called Weku Yarn, WEKU, and I'm sure she'll be a regular at a lot of the yarn shows in the UK in the coming year, in 2026. So Lydia used stranded colour work to create a beret. She got the calculation for the rib slightly wrong. She did a picot rib, which was folded over, and she got the calculation slightly wrong. Oh, it may not have been a rib, it was just a picot edge. For a picot edge, you normally work a certain number of rows, and then you do yarn over knit two together for a round, and then you work a few more rounds in stocking stitch. That's what it looks like. And she said that it was a little bit looser than she planned to. She planned to do that so it was sort of fitted when it was on the head, and then increase to bring it out into like a beret shape. And apparently she wasn't happy with her the fact that she got too many stitches for the edging, but she put some elastic in to bring it in, and then she used different motifs for the crown, and it was done kind of in sections, and the different motifs represented different parts of her heritage, family, and religion. I really liked it. I thought it looked really good. I thought colours wouldn't have been my choice. I think I would have gone for slightly more high contrast colours to make the colour work stand out a bit more. It also, I don't know whether she's allowed to block it, but it does look from the photographs that you could possibly do with a little bit more blocking, but that might just be the way it's photographed. I don't know. The judges liked it. They thought the stitch work was good. They did comment on the fact that she had used elastic in the edging. They thought the stitch work was good, and they thought it was quite delightful, so they seemed happy with it. And I must admit, by this point, I was thinking maybe Lydia will be the winner. I thought in advance that probably Holger would be the winner, but by this point, I thought could be Elsa, could be Lydia. I wasn't sure. I thought they were very even based on this challenge alone. Holger did a stocking cap. He used colour work that he'd used in the Farewell tank top they did at the beginning, which I thought was really good because it brought something back from previous in the series. People commenting online thought that was cheating because he used the colour work pattern he'd already done before. Maybe I got Lydia's wrong about the picot edge. Maybe Lydia didn't have the picot edge, because I noticed that Holger had the picot edge as well. So maybe it was Lydia's rib that wasn't tight enough. Maybe I got that wrong. But Holger did have a picot edge, and the picot edge, you can kind of see it on the photograph that it flares out a bit with the stocking stitch that comes above it. I've done picot edge on some of my Salisbury mitten patterns, and I did notice that I needed significantly fewer stitches for the picot edge, because you knit a bit of fabric, then you do a yarn over knit two together round, and then you knit a few more rounds, and then you fold it over so that yarn over round is at the bottom. And it makes because you've got 2 layers of fabric, it makes it thicker and it makes it a bit wider. So when you then go into colour work, it will pull it in a bit more. So he probably just needed to make that rim, that picot section, tighter with fewer stitches, and then increase when you start the colour work, which may have been corrected in the final pattern that Rowan has brought out, I don't know. But I thought the colour work was really good, it looked quite neat. And then he went into a Bavarian cable, which looked very good, and he worked in the decreases for the crown into the cable so that they wouldn't be visible. I really liked his hat. He had to do a lot of knitting because it was quite long, and they were showing it looked like he was struggling to finish on time, but yet he did manage to finish the tassel as well, which also looks very good. So I don't know whether that was mainly done to make it a bit more exciting for camera, I don't know. Let's just show you the picture. This is obviously from the Rowan pattern. It's just a screenshot I took from Instagram from the Rowan official patterns. So yeah, it still looks like the picot rim flares out a little bit. So maybe they haven't changed it, I don't know. But I really liked all 3 of them, and I thought it was quite even as to who might win. So the judges said Holger's had original design, and they were very pleased with it, and they liked how it picked up in the detail from the colour work, and the fact that he was German. He kind of had German links back to his German heritage, I guess. And I thought at this point, I thought they were all quite even. I thought any of them could win, really. I liked all of them. Let's talk about the judges and Tom Daly and their outfits. Di's hair has obviously been a thing through the whole series, and she's been criticised a lot for it. And this time she had like a big donut thing in her hair, stuck straight up, and it was nearly the size of her head, so it was quite big. I guess you've got to be careful. I mean, I couldn't wear it because I'd have to be careful every time I walked through a doorway, because I'm tall, so I'd probably knock into it every time I went through a doorway. But I don't know, she likes it, fine. She clearly decided to make a thing of wacky hair accessories throughout the series. I saw somebody comment on somewhere, I don't know whether it was a YouTube video or somewhere on social media, that she's known for wacky hair accessories. Just take a look at her Instagram, and I scrolled through her Instagram quite a long way back, and I couldn't see anything that looked wacky about her hair, so I don't know if that's true or not. But Tom Daly was wearing a red sweater that had some like loose ends and some like looked like it'd been worn out, but like deliberately dropped stitches and things, and like red knitted leggings. And then he had this amazing loopy coat over it. That's another picture of it that was posted on their Instagram. That must have been so hot to wear and so heavy. And then at the end he also put on this devil's hat thing. All the outfits that he worn were designed by other designers. They're not his designs, and they're obviously all made to look different and a bit edgy. And that's obviously not something that's aimed at me. This is more kind of high fashion, I guess, and it's not my taste. I would never wear that or design it, and it must have been incredibly hot to wear it. But he's a young guy, he's early 30s, he's a bit flamboyant anyway, so I think he can get away with it. And I guess it also gives people something to talk about. So do you think the right person won? So Holger won. Didn't surprise me. A lot of people pointing out the fact that he was the favourite from the beginning, and it was obvious that the judges favoured him. I'm going to cover this more in my next video about Game of Wool, where I'll just do like my views on the whole series and what I think they can improve and what I think they got right and what I think they got wrong. So I'll talk about that more then. But that's quite common for these kind of reality game shows, where the judges choose the winner. I think that's quite a common thing for the winner to be obvious right from the beginning. I think he was a worthy winner. I think all the three in the final were equal in their knitting abilities and crochet abilities. So I think he was a worthy winner, and I hope all of them, I think it's very brave of them to take part in the first series. I kind of regretted not applying, since it seemed like being a yarn industry, knitting industry professional wasn't a problem. But also the amount of criticism that you can get is horrendous. So I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I think I would have struggled with the filming schedule because of chronic pain, and I think I would not have been very happy with online criticism and that kind of thing that inevitably come with these kind of shows. But I wish all the contestants that took part, I think well done to them for taking part. I think they're all fabulous. I think the three finalists were brilliant, and I wish them all success in the future. And I hope they have a long career in the knitting industry if that's what they choose. So let me know if you watched it. Did you like it? What's your view of the series as a whole? Let me know in the comments. Did you like the winner? Did your favorite win? Did you think somebody else should have won? Tell me in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you are a new viewer as a result of these Game of Wool shows, then thank you very much. I hope you'll stick around and watch my regular content. There will be one more Game of Wool video next week probably. So I hope you'll come back and watch that as well. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing and leave me a comment. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.